You're in a quiet room, perhaps a lecture hall or a late-night meeting. Someone across the room lets out a huge, silent, jaw-stretching yawn, and then it happens. You feel a strange tingling at the back of your throat, an unstoppable, deep desire to do the exact same thing. You try to fight it, but it's no use. You yawn too. This experience is so common, so fundamentally human, that we barely give it a second thought. But it's one of the strangest and most mysterious forms of social contagion. It's an involuntary action triggered simply by seeing, hearing, or even just thinking about someone else doing it. So, why is yawning contagious? What is this bizarre, unconscious impulse that can ripple through a room of people? To understand this, we have to journey past simple explanations and into the deep wiring of the human brain, where a simple yawn reveals a profound truth about our species. For a long time, the most popular theory was a simple physiological one. It proposed that we yawn when we're tired or bored because our breathing becomes too shallow. This, the theory went, leads to a buildup of carbon dioxide and a deficit of oxygen in our blood. A yawn, therefore, is an involuntary reflex to force a deep intake of oxygen-rich air, flushing out the carbon dioxide and waking up the brain. It's an elegant idea. It feels right. But what if the reason had nothing to do with air at all? It turns out, the evidence for this oxygen theory is surprisingly weak. In a series of clever experiments, scientists tested this very idea. They had volunteers breathe air with higher than normal levels of oxygen, which should have, in theory, suppressed their need to yawn. It didn't. They also had them breathe air with high levels of carbon dioxide, which should have triggered more yawning. It didn't do that either. Other studies measuring blood oxygen levels before and after a yawn found no significant change. In short, the idea that a yawn is a mechanism for gas exchange, like a sigh of relief for your lungs, just doesn't hold up. The real reason we yawn seems to be much cooler. Literally. To understand this, we need to look at our brain as a kind of biological computer. Like any powerful processor, our brain uses a tremendous amount of energy, and in doing so, it generates a lot of heat. And just like your laptop, if your brain overheats, its performance suffers. It needs an efficient cooling system. Evidence suggests that yawning might be exactly that. Imagine the mechanics of a yawn. It's not just an open mouth. It's a powerful, coordinated stretch of the jaw, which dramatically increases blood flow to the skull. At the same time, you take a long, deep inhalation of ambient air. This air cools the blood vessels in your entire nasal and oral cavity. The now cooler blood then circulates back up into your brain, lowering its temperature. Essentially, a yawn is a built-in cooling fan, a moment of neurothermoregulation that helps you maintain optimal brain function. This theory explains a lot. We tend to yawn more when we're tired because sleep deprivation causes brain temperature to rise. We yawn when we wake up, perhaps to jumpstart the brain into a more alert, functional temperature. It even explains why you might yawn when you're nervous or stressed before a big event. These are also states that can increase brain temperature. Further evidence comes from a study where people who held a cold pack to their forehead yawned significantly less than those holding a warm pack. The cold pack was already doing the job of the yawn. So, this explains the why of yawning. It's a mechanism to cool the brain. But it leaves the central mystery untouched. If yawning is just a personal, biological air conditioner, why on earth would seeing someone else do it make you do it? This is where the story pivots from pure physiology to the fascinating world of social neuroscience. The contagiousness of a yawn, it seems, has almost nothing to do with cooling your own brain and everything to do with connecting to someone else's. The leading theory today is that contagious yawning is a primitive, unconscious form of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's the foundation of social bonding, cooperation, and morality. We often think of it as a high-level, conscious process, feeling sad because a friend is upset. But evidence suggests there's a more automatic, embodied layer to it. When you see someone in pain, you might physically wince. When you see someone laugh, you might smile without thinking. Your brain doesn't just observe their state, it simulates it. And contagious yawning appears to be a perfect, everyday example of this simulation in action. The clues are all there, woven into our development and our social interactions. For instance, contagious yawning doesn't appear in humans at birth. Young children yawn spontaneously, just like any other mammal, but they don't catch yawns from others until they are around 4 or 5 years old. This is a critical age in our development, the same period when we begin to develop a theory of mind, the ability to recognize that others have their own thoughts, feelings, and intentions. It's the dawn of true social consciousness. The timing is too perfect to be a coincidence. The ability to catch a yawn seems to grow alongside our ability to empathize. Further evidence comes from studying the brain itself. Using fMRI scanners, neuroscientists have watched what happens inside a person's brain at the exact moment they see someone else yawn. The areas that light up are not the brainstem regions that control involuntary reflexes like breathing. Instead, the activity is concentrated in the very same neural networks associated with empathy and social cognition, areas like the posterior cingulate and the precuneus. These are sophisticated parts of the brain that help us process social cues, understand others' perspectives, and feel a sense of connection. When you see a yawn, your brain interprets it not just as a physical motion, but as a piece of social information about another person's internal state. Your responsive yawn is your brain's automatic way of saying, "I register your state. I am mirroring it." This leads to another fascinating observation. We are not equally susceptible to everyone's yawns. Studies have shown, again and again, that you are far more likely to catch a yawn from someone you are emotionally close to. A yawn from a family member is the most contagious, followed by a friend, then an acquaintance, and finally, a stranger. This social gradient is a powerful clue. If contagious yawning were merely a physiological reflex, it wouldn't matter who the yawner was, but it does matter. The closer the social bond, the stronger the empathic connection, and the higher the likelihood that your brains will unconsciously sync up. It even crosses the species barrier. Dog owners will report that their dogs yawn after they do, and studies have confirmed this, a remarkable testament to the billions of years of shared evolution and the deep social bond between humanity and our canine companions. So, what does this all mean? If contagious yawning is a sign of empathy, why did evolution select for it? To answer that, we have to imagine our distant ancestors, living in small, tightly knit groups on the savanna. For this early humanity, survival was a team sport. Being exquisitely attuned to the state of your fellow group members wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. In this context, a yawn might not have simply meant, "I'm tired." It could have been a crucial nonverbal signal that coordinated the group's behavior. Imagine a group at rest after a hunt. One individual yawns, their brain cooling as they transition from a state of high alert to a state of relaxation. As the yawn spreads through the group, it synchronizes their internal states. It's a collective, unconscious signal that says, "It's safe now, we can lower our vigilance together." Conversely, a yawn upon waking could ripple through the group, helping to synchronize their arousal levels and prepare them for the day's activities. It's a way of getting the entire group on the same physiological and mental page, reinforcing cohesion and social harmony. In short, it was a tool for maintaining a shared consciousness. Ultimately, that simple, inescapable yawn you feel welling up is more than just a funny quirk. It is a ghost in the machine of your consciousness, a faint but powerful echo from a time when the survival of our species depended on our ability to be deeply, automatically, and empathically connected to one another. It's a physical manifestation of the fact that we are not isolated islands of thought. Our brains are hardwired for connection, built by evolution to mirror, to share, and to understand the inner worlds of those around us. The next time you catch a yawn from a friend or a loved one, you are participating in an ancient, unconscious ritual, a quiet, fleeting testament to the empathy that binds humanity together. But if this is true, what happens in individuals where that capacity for empathy is diminished or even absent? This question leads us to some of the most compelling and perhaps unsettling evidence for the yawn-empathy link. Imagine a person who can see another's distress, but not feel it. This is the world of psychopathy, a personality disorder characterized by a profound lack of empathy. When researchers tested this, the results were striking. People who scored highly on psychopathic traits yawned spontaneously just like anyone else. Their brains still needed cooling, but they were almost immune to the contagion. The signal was sent, but the receiver was turned off. For them, another person's yawn is just meaningless motion, not a social cue to be mirrored. The unconscious empathic bridge that a yawn represents simply fails to form. This is not just a quirk of humanity. When we look to other highly social species, we see the same patterns. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, also show robust contagious yawning, and just like us, the effect is strongest with individuals they know well. They will catch a yawn from a familiar troop member, but show little response to a video of an unknown chimp. Gelada baboons do it. Even budgerigars, a species of small parrot, have been shown to catch yawns from one another. It appears this mechanism of empathic synchronization is a behavioral fossil, a fundamental tool for group living that evolution has stumbled upon more than once across the tree of life. From the silent, watchful groups of our ancestors to the social politics of a chimpanzee troop, the contagious yawn serves as a quiet pulse, measuring the invisible ties of community. So, what does this all mean? We began with a simple, almost trivial question about a common bodily function. The answer, it turns out, is twofold and surprisingly profound. On a personal level, a yawn is a brilliant piece of biological engineering, your brain's personal cooling system keeping you alert and functional. But on a social level, its contagiousness is a whisper from our evolutionary past, a beautiful and automatic display of our fundamental capacity for empathy. It is evidence, written into our very reflexes, that our consciousness is not designed to be an island. Ultimately, that unstoppable urge you feel in a quiet room is a reminder that even in our most involuntary moments, we are built to reach out, to mirror, and to connect with the minds around us, reaffirming the invisible bonds that make us a community. If you enjoyed this exploration into what connects us, please consider subscribing for more.